Nirmala Sitharaman for being the first full-time lady finance minister. More than a battle of genders, a woman at the helm of finance should also hopefully help in balancing the home budgets of the poor, who continue to face, in terms of deficits, far greater proportions, and having no recourse to fulfill their empty stomachs, even with the borrowed funds that governments are able to access on a need basis. Madam Chairperson, we all know that the budget is essentially a statement of income and expenditure. However, over the years, it also reflects a statement of intent and a direction of change. A strong mandate, like the ruling benches got this year, further provides that added comfort and confidence to take measures for a far faster trajectory of growth. When I think of some of the path-breaking budgets in the last 3 decades, 3 budgets come to my mind. The first on the list is the historic budget presented by Dr. Manmohan Singh ji in 1991. It changed India forever by dismantling avoidable controls and lowering of tariffs. Next on my list is what is still known as the Dream Budget, presented by Mr. Chitambram in 1997. No one expected that the tax rates would be lowered so drastically, and yet the revenues would be increased. And lastly, the budget of 2004 that made our country take huge strides to transform health, education, and social justice. All these budgets came from coalition governments, and they were all followed by long periods of high growth, periods that are now acknowledged as the golden periods of Indian economy. Madam Chairperson, Budget 2019-20 will be dealing with nearly 28 lakh crores of money. Seen in parts, there are bound to be areas that please a section here and there. Politics is also an art of the possible, and lately of projection. I do not wish to find fault with individual doles here and there, as long as they are backed by funds and are finally delivered to the promised sections. My concerns are at 3 levels. The first is a series of announcements that are not backed by fund allocations. Of most serious concern is the outlay on defense, more particularly on defense acquisitions. This will perhaps be the first time that a finance minister has failed to make an announcement on the issue of defense in the budget speech. I would have liked to believe that her immediately previous position as minister in charge of defense would have given her enough insights into the need for the quick upgradation of defense capabilities. The total outlay of the defense capital is up by a meager 10%. And adjusted for inflation, it means that we are spending even less than last year. And that even when the threat perception presented to the nation just a few months back was an entirely different story. Expenditure on animal husbandry and dairying is lower than last year by about 11%. And this is when we are talking of increasing and doubling the farmer's income in 3 years. Expenditures on MSMEs, another high priority area, is up by a meager 7%. No wonder the jobs remain non-existent. Expenditure in the power sector is up by less than 2%. And expenditure on electronics and IT ministry, where we are talking of digital India, is only up by 4%. It is evident that with the slowing down of the economy and the falling revenues, people of India are merely being given headlines, which are likely to be replaced by newer headlines in the future, even while the economy is crying out for help. Let me now come to the second area, which concerns all states, and where I feel the central government is literally committing a fraud on the states. As per the 14th Finance Commission, states are entitled to a share of 42% of the central taxes. Taxes collected as surcharges and cesses are not meant to be part of a divisible pool. For decades, a delicate balance has been maintained in collecting money for exceptional needs as surcharges and cesses. This balance has been seriously breached, and in recent years, this budget has taken it now to a new level. Nearly the entire increase of tax on petroleum and diesel this year will go to the centre alone. This is budgeted to give a revenue of 1,27,019 crores this year 19 and 20. This massive increase in surcharge on the super rich will also go to the centre alone. From a meagre 15,000 crores of surcharges on personal income in 2017 and 18, centre is hoping to collect a mammoth rupees 61,000 crores in 2019-20. The figures in the case of corporate tax are up from 37,000 crores in 17-18 to 1,09,000 crores. In the eyes of the state, central government is their super rich. The budget proposes to tax them at 42%, and the share of the states is being reduced from the promised 42% to almost 30%. So let me clarify that these are not doles from the centre. They are very much legitimate state taxes which are collected centrally and meant to be given to the states as per healthy conventions established over the years. If all this money is going to be kept by the centre, the deficits of the states are going to grow higher. I come from a state where the fiscal situation is extremely precarious. The budget is making our life doubly difficult. I suggest that instead of raising money as surcharges and cesses, these should be collected as the main tax itself. This would make at least 2 lakh crores available for sharing with the states. The budget wishes to spend a never-before amount of 100 lakh crores on infrastructure in the next 5 years. Available resources are being shown as close to 1 lakh and 1.5 lakh crores per annum. Rest of the money of more than 90 lakh crores is meant to come from sources that are unknown at this stage. The existing ratio of external borrowing of 5% is planned to be tripled. At another front, RBI reserves are proposed to be depleted even while there are bickerings at the top echelons of the bank on the prudence of parting with the money. The disinvestment target of more than 1 lakh crore is proposed as if everything is for ready sale. We are now delicately placed where GDP has slowed down to 5.8% in the previous quarter. Exports stagnant for 5 years in real terms, unemployment rate doubled, and investment climate falling. We are facing an unprecedented volatility in global situations. Our GST could be in the Guinness Book of Records to be the most amended law in the last 2 years. We have enough indicators of the economy faltering. We have undone everything that the 3 best budgets I mentioned tried to do. We are pushing the dirt of central physical deficit to the doorsteps of our states, and these are hardly the signs of a good budget. I'm going to conclude now. Headlines don't produce results by themselves. They have to be backed by actions that make everyone take note of India as a land of opportunity and efficient delivery. I would say that the budget has failed to rise to the challenge despite no pressure from a coalition politics. With these words, I sit down with my fingers crossed and thank you for giving me the time to speak.
Srimati Sunita Duggal ji.